Hi Rajesh, welcome to Detour with Design. How are you today?
Doing very well, Benita, and thank you so much for your invitation. And this sounds like a very good initiative.
Oh, it was all our pleasure. We were most excited to speak to you and get to know everything what's happening behind the curtains at Architecture Live and Unbuilt Ideas.
Sure.
Right. So, obviously, the first thing that comes to somebody's head is Architecture Live has been, I think before even I completed my architectural course, for that matter. And for again, for the viewers, of course, they don't know you have been a professor to one of my professors. So, yeah, you have actually.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, uh, we won't share that on screen. So anyhow, so you started Architecture Live quite back, like in 2011, if I'm not wrong. So since then, and now that you see the landscape of design journalism, there has been quite a shift. So what kind of a shift do you see happening, and accordingly, how have you, kind of molded Architecture Live based on that shift?
Architecture Live as a platform. Yeah, so Architecture Live as a platform did start formally in 2011, but the idea of Architecture Live, it started in 2007, 2008 actually. If you see on internet, the domain name architecturelive.in was registered in April 2008. So after that, it took around 3 years for me to really bring this idea to reality. So what was happening was I was traveling a lot across country, and I was working with a software company at that point, selling software to architects. And during this travel, I figured out that architects communities are spread out. They are not connected. Like there is one community in Bangalore doing fantastic work. Then there is another community in Assam, Guwahati doing fantastic work. Different kinds of processes being followed. There is diversity in architectural practices across country. And at that point, world was moving towards digital age. I would say that was just the beginning of things getting online. And we started a small community first on Orkut with few architects where they started discussing about architecture. And this community interestingly had again architects from different parts of the country, very few from northeast and east, but there were few. What I found interesting was this community on Orkut, these discussions were so intense at times that there were people were saying that in our region this does not work like this, our practice is not like this, and your practice works very differently. I thought this is an opportunity to bring architects in India online, where they can discuss their work, their practices, their issues. And that's where in 2011, this Architecture Live started with just featuring projects, because that was the easiest thing to do. Ask architects to come on board and share their work. They also were kind of wanting visibility across the world, and Architecture Live platform was providing that. Another thing was inequality. There was discrimination, especially with younger architecture firms. And I found that the magazines at that point were printing the same kind of work by almost same names again and again being shown in magazines. And I thought, with my travel, I have learned that even the smaller practices, they are doing commendable work. Okay, they may not have glossy pictures of their work, but it does not mean their work is not good. So the glossy picture of a bad building printed in a magazine does not mean success. Okay, and this was sending a very wrong message to younger architects. They were thinking that architecture works like this is the kind of building they should be doing and all that. I thought this must change, and Architecture Live then started with a objective that every architect should have an equal and fair opportunity to publish their work, irrespective of what kind of work, what typology, what scale, architectural work is architectural work. So there would be no judging. Let people come and put it online. Since then, your question was what is the shift or change that we have seen? Since then, in 2011, now there are many platforms across the globe, I would say. One good thing that has happened is a lot of people are talking architecture, which is a need now. And it is always a problem that architects were talking to architects in a language that only architects understand. And that is not solving the problem, or it is actually creating more problems. It is creating disconnect. With these platforms and social media, I think architectural information has become more accessible now. So that is one good thing with social media. But again, there is a downside of it. The objective of or the purpose of designing a building should not be to getting it published in a magazine. Architecture serves a very different purpose. But the younger generation, I feel, is they are designing with an objective that ultimately I have to get this building published in a magazine. So that kind of pressure is there. So unrealistic renders are coming out, and things are such that now the buildings have started looking like computer generated renders.
But like a little while back, you spoke about the fact that back then it was happening that the same names were coming out in magazines and with flashy pictures, and it was not necessary that those buildings were great or had great design potential. Do you think that thing has changed? Like, do you think that magazines or portals, whatever it is, the best projects that are there of a year or whatever you might say, or the names that are there, do you see that repetitive nature still there, or do you see a far more variety in terms of content or in terms of design projects and good design context?
There is definitely a great diversity in the kind of work which is happening across India. Our new initiative at Architecture Live, which talks about, which is titled Future Trajectories, where we look at younger firms, what they are doing. You would be surprised. Even I was surprised that there are so many firms I did not know of. You know, practices led by just one person and one person trying to kind of uh, do an experiment with material or technology or processes. And this is an amazing work coming out of architectural offices in India.
Right.
Now, whether it is good work, whether it is bad work is another, it is a different question altogether. But what I'm saying is diverse work is happening and we need to talk about it. First, without judging it, what is good, what is bad. Then let us come to what is meaningful. Okay. I would not take the names of firms unless it is really needed, but there are many younger firms from tier two cities which have been listed in this future trajectories thing. And who has shared these names with me? You'll be surprised again. The established practices, they felt that these younger firms are doing commendable work. So an appreciation for this, these younger firms coming from senior practices is something great.
Absolutely. That's what shows, I think, a mark of a healthy community at the end of the day. You cannot just be
Absolutely.
pulling each other down. So yeah, that
Absolutely.
definitely. But okay, yeah, that's about, I think it. So in 2018, you then came up with Unbuilt, the book. If I'm not wrong with the year, you may correct me if I am. That is when I think around 2018 is when the idea emerged and kind of started taking shape. So my question is, why did you feel the need to, from a digital platform? As you said, from 2007, you had a digital platform. Why did you feel the need to, kind of shift to a print version? And why unbuilt ideas? What was the whole concept, and what was in your mind the vision that made you start unbuilt ideas?
So the book Unbuilt Volume 1 came out in 2020,
Hmm.
February.
Hmm.
But the idea started somewhere in 2019. I remember the first email was sent about this idea in the middle of the night or early morning at around 1:30 or 2 a.m. So this was out of frustration. Let me be very honest over here. And architecture live, I got bored of architecture live. I usually get bored of things I do. So I constantly look for a change, and that's how new things begin at our end. So in 2019, I remember sending an email to an architect and asking if they would be happy to be part of this initiative, without really hoping to receive a reply, because the architect was very responsive and he was very responsive. So at around 7 a.m. in the morning, the reply was there. You know, this is a very good initiative, a very good thought, Rajesh, and I would like to be part of it. So we shared timelines and we discussed other modalities. And now, why Unbuilt Ideas as a different platform? You are right that in 2018, somewhere 2017, 18, I seriously started looking at unbuilt work on Architecture Live. And I was receiving more unbuilt work than built work. I was also very choosy about publishing the built work, because in 6 years I realized that not everything needs to be published. Sometimes I have to say no. So initially I started saying yes to everything, but later on, then I started saying no to a few things. And then I started finding that unbuilt work, it shows what is going on in an architect's mind, a different kind of imagination, a very different kind of idea, which is not, matlab, the world is not ready for it, or these are very edgy idea, like you can say client is not ready, or people are not ready for that. I thought it's better to talk about these ideas in a very formal way. So I started kind of, I would not call it research, because we generally tend to use the word research very loosely nowadays. I started looking for information online, and then I found that there is no publication in India which formally documents unbuilt architecture. There is a publication in US, there is a publication in Sydney, there are publications in different countries that formally document unbuilt architecture. But there was a question, why in India no one has done that? It's not that people who did not talk about unbuilt architecture as such, but there was no formal document. So I thought, why not start just focusing on ideas which are not built? And then one of my colleagues, who was working with me at that point, Anupriya Saraswat, I remember, we were discussing, and she came up with a very beautiful observation that worth of a building cannot be measured with what is seen and what is visible and what is physically on ground. The architecture is much more than that. Okay. And that's where I thought unbuilt ideas should be made a reality. But for 2 years, started kind of, we were working on it, and then we realized, uh, at one point we thought that this idea of creating unbuilt ideas would also remain unbuilt. Whether we would be successful at it or not, that was the question. People were asking that. But finally, we are there. We are there with 2 publications now.
Right. So recently also released 2.0. So while I know what like you said what was there in the first version of it, what is different in 2.0? What have you done differently in 2.0?
So volume one, as I said, that was because we were doing it for the first time. It had a very simple theme, criteria, I would say. It was buildable, unbuilt. The projects which were real, actually in architects' offices, which architects worked on. There was a real client, real site, real design brief, or reasonable design brief, I would say. Those projects made unbuilt one. But in volume two, uh, the advisor, Gautam Bhatia, and we discussed that we should kind of expand the scope to unbuildable, unbuilt. Something which was created by architects again, not necessarily architects only, anyone who could visualize a city or could imagine a city has an idea of a city. This idea may not be workable. Why not we extend Unbuilt 2 to that? Now, both volumes came during pandemic. 2022, 2020, it started 2022, it ended. Okay. Now, Gautam Bhatia and other people were advising us on this. They were very clear about one thing, that the book should talk about what could future be with the pandemic that we have witnessed and what kind of ideas would change architecture for better or make better cities. So Unbuilt 2 is actually more of unbuilt ideas from artists, even students, which are academic ideas, which people thought that are much better than ideas which are proposed by architects. And Unbuilt 3 that we are still discussing is again a step beyond it. We'll discuss about it later, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. Would love to. I think would be a very inspiring and even for me, I would get to learn a lot more. I'm guessing. So yeah, that would definitely be an amazing conversation. But again, so definitely, I would love to know that how are the reviews. I know a few days before you had posted, or it was a memory that somebody had posted a review of your first volume. Somebody very known, and so therefore that inspired the question in my head that how are the reviews for 2.0? I'm sure they have been amazing. Has anybody come back to you with something till now?
So I lost your voice there. Are you asking about reviews for Unbuilt 2?
Yes. Yeah, for 2.0. I know that the first one was a huge success because you posted
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how are the reviews for 2.0? Yeah.
So Unbuilt 2 has recently come out,
Yeah, yeah.
and we have sent it to everyone who had pre-ordered. The contributors have started receiving copies now. We have started receiving reviews which are mostly one-line reviews. These read like a fabulous uh, compilation of unbuilt ideas. This is a fantastic work, Rajesh. What an inspiring work. Now, people are sharing these reviews because the book is very intense in nature.
Yeah.
If you see the book, it is not just projects, there are essays to read. People have said that they would take time to go through the book. Somebody said, I was talking to a contributor day before yesterday. He said, it might take a year's time for me to even comment on this kind of book. This is so intense, you know. But at the outset, this is something very fabulous, very promising, and more of such publications should come out. That is very heartening. That is one kind of review. Second kind of review, which we also got for volume one, was this book needs to, this kind of content needs to be organized in a better way. But this is only one person sharing this review, and we are taking it very seriously. We are looking at ways to make content more engaging in terms of structure and organizing within the book. Let us see, maybe a new edition would come out and we would have better content in that.
No, so for our viewers, can you please say so if anybody is interested to buy the book, where can they order it online, or is that possible to be done for anybody who wants to do it?
Right now, we are out of stock,
Oh,
and we are not taking any new orders at the moment. And when the new lot gets printed somewhere in May,
okay.
then we would start accepting the orders. At this point, we are even not accepting the inquiries. There are people sending out emails to us.
Okay.
So people have to wait. Even I know that this book needs to go out in market. You won't find it in any bookstore at the moment because we are personally sending it to people, and that's the way we connect with our readers. And maybe by May somewhere the orders would open again for Unbuilt 2.
So all good things to those who wait, guys. Wait till May, and maybe you will find a Unreal 2.0 some in some fancy crossword bookstore or maybe Oxford bookstore, and you can go and have a buy at it. Right. Like you stated in your first question, when I asked you that there are like a lot, and I can't even stress the word, a lot of digital platforms that are coming up currently, especially post pandemic, because everybody was at home, people got a chance to be inspired and, kind of research online and do these kind of things. So considering the fact that because you have been, what should I say, one of the pioneers, or have started from a long back, and newer things are coming up, do you feel a sense of competition from any of these digital platforms? Of course, this is based on Architecture Live. Unbuilt does not have a competitor currently. Do you feel that I don't know, that there is a sense of competition, a sense of healthy competition, no matter what, that is coming across because of so many players in the market currently?
So initially, when there were a couple of new platforms which came up, and I know very big companies from corporates, I would say they started architectural platforms in India, similar to Architecture Live. They were actually in touch with us to
Okay.
understand how Architecture Live is working, uh, and what has our journey been like. More than competition, I would say these younger minds or new portals, the owners or founders or editors of these new portals are very innovative, I would say, with respect to ideas. I generally find it very inspiring at times. I generally take ideas from them and implement on Architecture Live. So it works other way around, I would say. Okay. These people are aggressive, they are younger, and they have also very good and very diverse content, I would say. And competition, I don't know whether this is right word, but our world, it has place or space for many such businesses to coexist, you know, and monopolies are always bad. I would always feel that. And you said that there is no competition for unbuilt architecture. That is actually not correct. There are people publishing on unbuilt ideas, unbuilt architecture, but the only difference is we have a dedicated platform for that. And that is the only difference, but there are people who are publishing about unbuilt architecture and all, and I think we all can coexist. And I would want more such platforms to come in. And I'm pretty sure because these would come from younger people, there would be a lot to learn from them.
Right. Although you again did give a sneak peek to that, uh, what is the next big thing that we can see? I don't know, Architecture Live or Rajesh Advani coming up with, because yeah, you keep giving us sneak peeks on social media. But what is the next big thing that you would like to, maybe, I don't know, we get a trailer of it right now, and we're honored with that.
So, I don't know if it is a big thing, but we are working on a couple of initiatives or ideas at the moment. I would like to share a few which I can share immediately.
Of course.
One is we are documenting the work of younger practices which are less than 10 years old. And there is a formal body which is looking at it now, which will be looking at it. So we have formulated a structure. There are people on board, there are advisors, jury members, and they have started looking at works of younger architectural practices in India. There is possibility there would be a book on that, and we have already started working on that. But there is a possibility that this book would be multiple volumes. It's too early to talk about it. That is one. Second initiative, which has been on my mind for long, is a platform for architectural writers. Okay. Uh, the reason I want to do it is because I don't think there is justice being done to their effort at this point. There are platforms which are exploiting writers in the name of internship and all that. So I want these architectural writers to have a platform where readers pay when they read. If they like it, they pay whatever money they feel is justifiable. So that kind of platform we are working on. I don't know how much time it would take, but we are already discussing it with a small team over here. Third, of course, is Unbuilt 3. People started talking about 3 when 2 was not even launched. Okay, there was pressure on us to release Unbuilt 2. It was taking more time, but during the discussions and during the launch program, the ideas on Unbuilt 3 already started. So we are putting up a team of curators to look at what Unbuilt 3 could be. And there is a fourth idea, which is still, I'm not sure how it would be taken forward. Uh, it is important to create a platform like for architecture live only, where critique happens, a very serious critique of architecture. Now, what the problem in India is, we are a very small community of architects. So we don't, we are very afraid of criticizing or even sharing a bad comment of building, even if it is
Not
in a healthier way. Yeah, it's not easy to do that. So how do we do that? So I'm working on that in a way where an architect talks about other architects' works from a critique point of view. It is not, critique is not something negative always. You analyze everything very deeply, and there is a very serious analysis, and then you present your view on that. We have already talked to 6 architects. There is a pair of 2 architects looking at each other's work and all that. But again, we dissolved it and decided that these architects should not be talking about each other's work rather than other architects' works. So let us not create pairs over here. So that is another thing happening. So every day, a lot of things are happening. We have like a whole notebook of ideas, which uh, we think that someday these would be a reality, but these are unbuilt ideas.
These are your unbuilt ideas. You should probably put that at the end of 3.0 when you come up with it, like a segment of all unbuilt ideas with Architecture Live and you guys. I think that would be interesting to read.
I'm sure every person, like even you, when you are working on couple of things, many things, a couple of things do not work out. You just have an idea and you don't know how to take it forward, and some ideas take time. That's how things work.
Absolutely. It was a very meaningful and insightful conversation, Rajesh. Okay, so the next one gets a little more interesting and a little more diplomatic and little more spontaneous, probably. Although, till now, whoever I've spoken to really thought of taking the diplomatic way out. Let's see how Rajesh does. So, we're going to do a little thing called, which we called myth or not. And for you and for our viewers, I'll just say this, that in this, I'll be passing a statement to which Rajesh has to answer whether it's a myth or it's the truth. And of course, he has to give a supportive statement to what he chooses. So, are you ready, Rajesh? Should I bring it on?
Looks
Great,
like, yeah.
great. So, the first statement is, you can't earn money as a design journalist in India.
At the moment, it is true, I would say. Because design journalists or architectural writers or design writers, like I said earlier, are not being paid reasonably well, and the remuneration is not doing justice. And even I am at fault, I would say, for that, because there are some writers working with us, and I have to work on ways to improvise this system for writers. So I would agree that at this point, we need to work on ways to make this, I would say, segment of for architectural writers or design journalists much more favorable, which is not at the moment.
Okay, great. Statement two is, if not for COVID, digital platforms in design would never have flourished. Myth or truth?
So digital platforms on architecture, if you say, were already there even before COVID. Okay, a lot of them. I know of couple of platforms which started, which died down for whatsoever reasons. The pandemic only accelerated this thing, like digital platforms. Everyone was online all of a sudden. So it is not true that it is because of COVID there are many digital platforms. Most of these digital platforms, the ideas, you would, if you look for them, these started before COVID.
Oh.
And COVID gave an opportunity to these people to think about it seriously and take it forward.
So you're saying it's neither a myth, neither the truth.
No, no, I am saying that it was before COVID only these platforms started. COVID only pushed it a bit. That's it.
Myth.
Which COVID was used as an opportunity for these people, which is fine.
Okay, statement number 3. Design journalism and communications. Internships should be allowed by architectural colleges. Myth or not?
Absolutely. Yes, we have written about this. It should be allowed. We have written about it in 2016 or 17, I guess, where we wrote to the Council of Architecture urging them to expand the scope of internship beyond designing buildings. There are a lot of things which happen in architects' offices, which are documentation, photography, model making, writing on architecture. Why not some people who are seriously interested in writing or doing design journalism just go to architect's office during internship and focus on that if they have already decided that is a career. So it should be done.
Perfect. So the final statement, Rajesh, is every architect must be good at sketching. Myth or not?
No,
That's myth.
it's absolutely not required for architects to be good at sketching, because I also wrote about it a long ago. I would say somewhere in 2010, that the emphasis in architecture colleges on good sketching is a futile exercise. It does not really help even architects or profession. Sketching should be used by architects to resolve their own thought processes.
Hmm.
It's a very personal thing. And when I'm discussing with a client, you or a team member, then we use sketches. This is a very spontaneous thing from mind to hand. And don't confuse it with drawings.
Hmm.
So sketching is very fluid in nature. It cannot be rigid. It should not be rigid. And there is sketching. There is no good sketching or no bad sketching. It's just sketching.
So, okay, I will now, have the suspense lights on because the next segment is what we are calling a rapid fire in design. So, are you ready to be quick in your answers, Rajesh?
Sure.
Absolutely great. So, just a heads up, you will have 10 seconds to answer each question. You don't need to give a supportive statement as to why you chose that. You just need to answer, and that's about it. Okay, so here's the first one for you, Rajesh. Architecture chat or Blessed Arch, the better platform according to you?
So these both platforms are serving different purposes. One is EdTech platform, Architecture Chat. The other is a YouTube channel, and they both are adding values to the profession in different ways. So no comparison over there.
Okay, diplomatic answer. Next one. Interior design projects or landscape design projects? Which one do you prefer writing about?
I don't write at all. I do very less writing personally, but if I'm more of a publisher than writer.
Okay. Reading books or reading online? The better choice.
For me, it is reading online because I'm continuously on move and carrying books is little difficult. So my devices, electronic devices are good.
Okay. Being an architect or being a design journalist? The profession you enjoy the most?
Being a publisher,
Publisher. Okay. Final one, Rajesh. Worldarchitecture.org or Arc Daily, the better online platform.
Arc Daily, anytime, because of their diversity, versatility with respect to content and the way they organize and reach out to people.
Okay, you did pretty well, Rajesh. A little bit of your diplomacy, but on a whole, a pretty candid conversation and pretty candid, fast, rapid fire with you. So definitely, to on an ending note, thank you so much. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this little thing that we wanted to do online. We cannot be thankful enough.
Thank you, Vinita. It was an honor and it was really a good conversation. It helps me think about what I am doing. So,
It is going to help us also. I'm pretty sure at EIP we would love to maybe rethink our ways of doing stuff after this conversation.